With the combine behind us, it's time for another mini mock draft Monday.
You are Locked On Bengals, your daily Cincinnati Bengals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What up, Bengals fans, and welcome to another mini episode of the Locked On Bengals podcast. We're diving into a little mock draft for you. He's James Rapien. I'm Jake Liscow. We are your hosts of Locked On Bengals, part of the #1 sports podcast network in the land, the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today, with the combine in the books, James, we're going to dive into 3 quick rounds of a mock draft Monday. We're using the Pro Football Network simulator this time around. And now that we know how Sonny Styles is tested and who has and hasn't tested and who the Bengals have met with and all the things that we know, we just spent some time talking about the defensive line and all of the intrigue there for the Bengals for you. We're going to take a look at a 3-round mini mock, and let's get this thing running, James, and see who we can pick from in the first round. And I'm going to make you pick between Sonny Styles and Jeremiyah Love.
Let's go, baby. Peter Wood's also there if you're listening. Oh my goodness. I'm not even going to name anybody else. This is a very nice proposition to be in. Sonny Styles, who jumps out the gym. He could literally jump from Cincinnati all the way to you in Canada right now. He can do that. And yet he's still not the best prospect on the board, Jake Liscow. The best prospect on the board is Mr. 436 pick up sticks, Jeremiyah Love. I think the Bengals would pick Sonny Styles in this scenario, or maybe Peter Woods in this scenario. But you know where I'm going to be. You know where my heart is. My heart is focused on Love because he's probably the best player in this draft and certainly the best player on the board right now. That being said, I understand our audience. Not as many of them are as focused on the best player available as they are fixing this defense. So, Jake, I'm going to let you pick this one. I'm going to just hands up, let it go. I know what I would do. Everybody knows what I would do. I will not be mad at you if you go Sonny Styles. I will not be mad at you if you go Peter Woods. I would go Jeremiyah Love, but it's your pick. You make it.
Here's the thing. I'm just going to play devil's advocate for a second, just because I don't know that I have a super strong feeling between Sonny Styles and Jeremiyah Love before free agency. After free agency, I might feel differently about it. Probably not a ton. Here's the thing that gives me, it's not so clear cut to me, is that I don't think it's abundantly clear that Sonny Styles is a worse prospect than Jeremiyah Love. I just don't think that is blatantly obvious. I think that if you go position agnostic, which you have to do for linebacker or running back at pick number 10 overall, you have to ignore the position entirely. I think that there are plenty of folks out there who would tell you Sonny Styles is a better prospect than Jeremiyah Love. There are also plenty of folks who would tell you that Jeremiyah Love is probably the best prospect in the class, period. If you go position agnostic. I know there are people that feel that way about Sonny Styles too, both in terms of media that cover the draft and around the NFL. People really love Sonny Styles tape. So if you take those two things into account, then I think it gets much, much murkier, because then you need a tiebreaker if there's debate about which of those two prospects is better, right? And then the tiebreaker would lean, for me, to the defense. If you were to say that those guys are equal prospects. David Bailey went 2nd in this scenario. Arvell Reese went 4th. Ruben Bain went 7th. Caleb Downs went 8th. And the reason that we can even pick Jeremiyah Love here is because in this scenario, Kenyon Sadiq goes 9th to the Kansas City Chiefs.
Could happen. It could happen.
I'd be pretty surprised if it works out exactly this way.
Yeah. I think we'll see some surprises in the top 9 based on just how different it could be. I mean, you just said it. Some think Sonny Styles could be the best player in the draft. Some think that Jeremiyah Love could be the best player in the draft. There's an argument for both. I would. Here's the thing. There are going to be linebackers that we go over soon that possibly, unless we take Sonny Styles, that could be there on day 2. If the Bengals, that's the other element here. If the Bengals address what they need to address in free agency, I think they could be in position to go BPA. I do think we should probably take Sonny Styles in this scenario, even though I
We're
would
not
take
going to.
Jeremiah Love.
We're going to take Jeremiah Love here. This is going to be the hear me out day of the
Hear
mini
me
mock
out.
draft on the
I
Locked
mean,
On
it's
Bengals
early.
podcast.
I mean, we're going to do a hear me out like March 30th too.
I'm sure we'll do a few.
All right,
The
I'm
other
just letting
names
you know.
here,
I'll just
the other names here that could be considered by some fans are Caleb Lomu and Francis Maui-Noa.
Jake's getting a call.
But for the sake of this exploration, we're going to take Jeremiah
Mm.
Love here. We're going to make James Rapien happy on this Monday, and we'll come back in just a minute and figure out where we're going in the rest of this draft.
I love the Jeremiah Love pick. And if you're looking for the right fit, well, you're going to love Indeed, because workplace chaos, deadlines stacking up, inbox overflowing. Well, you need Indeed sponsored jobs to get caught up, to find that right hire, to find the right skills, experience, location. So you're not just hoping the right candidates stumble across your post. So you find the right candidates and can get to interviewing and getting the process started. The minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours have made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. Indeed is going to be a game changer for you, like Jeremiah Love would be a game changer for the Bengals. Spend less time searching, more time actually interviewing candidates who check all the boxes. Less stress, less time, more results, like a 4.36, a 40-yard dash. This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. And listeners of Locked On Bengals get $75 in sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves. All you have to do is go to Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Let them know Locked On Bengals sent you. Indeed.com/podcast.
We're also brought to you today by FanDuel. College basketball nonstop, big games, tight spreads, momentum swings every single night, from early tip-offs to late night West Coast shootouts. There's always action on the board, and now FanDuel is giving you a way to turn that energy into even bigger potential wins with a college basketball parlay profit boost. Miami Redhawks, they're doing things this year. You can build any college hoops parlay you want, including just going up the road to Miami. Rivalry games, ranked matchups, whatever fits your read. Go safe, go bold, ride with the team you've been rocking with all season long. It's your parlay, your style, now with even more upside behind it with that profit boost that instantly bumps up the potential payout. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com. FanDuel, play your game.
Today's show is also brought to you by Game Time. Game Time is going to make your life easier. It is, because you like going to live events, concerts, sporting events, whether it's the NBA, Major League Baseball, with opening day, well, really soon, just a few weeks away. Obviously, NFL, it doesn't matter. Game Time has you covered. I've used Game Time multiple times. I've recommended it to family members. They've used it. Guess what? It makes life easier, from the panoramic view from your seats to their all-in pricing. A few taps and boom, you have your ticket. No one should have to stress about going to their favorite live events, and you won't with Game Time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code Locked On, $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Create an account, redeem code LOCKEDON, Locked On, for $20 off. Download Game Time today.
We're going to hustle through a couple more rounds here in this mini mock draft Monday. We've got round 2, round 3, all of day 2 included for you this time around. And here we are at pick 41, the Bengals' second round pick. And the top of the board available to us, according to the Pro Football Network simulator, is TJ Parker, Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, the safety from Toledo. TJ Parker, of course, the edge from Clemson. D'Angelo Pons, corner from Indiana. Very interesting. I know James wants me to shout out Omar Cooper Jr. from Indiana. Absolutely. Very fun player. Chris Johnson, the corner from San Diego State, I think interesting. Christian Miller, who the Bengals met with and we drafted, I think, last week on Mock Draft Monday, the defensive tackle from Georgia, interesting. AJ Halsey, Malachi Lawrence, the edge from UCF. And even going further down the list here, Josiah Trotter, Kamari Ramsey, Genesis Smith. And I wanted to make sure we got to R. Mason Thomas and the linebacker from Texas Tech, who really, I think, if anyone helped himself at the combine, Jacob Rodriguez certainly did. But back to the top here, James. If you're drafting Jeremiah Love in the first round and you're the Cincinnati Bengals, you've probably added guys that you like at all the defensive positions that we've talked about so much this offseason. And going into this pick here in the second round, you would have to assume that they have signed a starting caliber linebacker. Say it's Leo Chenal, a starting caliber safety. Pick a safety. I'm not sure which one to throw into the hat here, and probably a starting caliber edge player.
Yeah,
And now, even though they have done those things, I think you're still considering a defensive player here after Jeremiah Love in the first round.
for sure. Yeah, and I think the one that stood out to me right away was Emmanuel McNeil Warren, and if he somehow does get there in round 2, and by the way, we've seen this. Like, I think a lot of people are expecting him. Dylan Thielemann went 19th overall. Like, there could be 3 safeties that go in the first round, and I think a lot of people believe that. That being said, because it's a deep position, maybe the run doesn't happen until 41. Maybe the Bengals started here, and between 41 and 61, a bunch of safeties go off the board. And so I think it's interesting. You mentioned Chris Johnson. I think he's going to be someone, a day 2 corner, certainly in play for the Cincinnati Bengals. We've talked about at 10, but I think day 2 certainly in the mix. D'Angelo Pons falls into that. I like Pons a lot, man. Whoo, he's just a baller. He's someone I think the Bengals will look at his speed and athleticism, and despite his size, and be open to drafting him. But for me, this comes down to 2 guys, TJ Parker, Emmanuel McNeil Warren. It's obviously based on free agency. I lean McNeil Warren. I think he's just a better prospect, but it's close. And obviously, you're probably going to need to address pass rush at some point. This is a deeper safety class, so I would kind of say either or in that scenario.
Yeah, let me make the case for D'Angelo Pons here, as you've been talking about it. If we get to this point in the NFL draft, I think that the Bengals have signed an edge, a safety, and a linebacker if they pick Jeremiah Love in the first round. I don't think that they necessarily have signed a slot player, unless
Agreed.
that safety that they signed is a guy that they think is versatile enough to do both. Now, can Emmanuel McNeil Warren do both? Maybe he can at the NFL level. Can D'Angelo Pons be a really good slot defender for you who's potentially hyper juiced Mike Hilton? Doesn't that sound interesting? I mean, he tested great. I know he's small, but he's dense. He's actually slightly denser, more muscle on that body than Mike Hilton. At least at when Mike Hilton went through the combine. I'm sure he gained some weight, put on some pounds in the NFL. But that would be my case for D'Angelo Pons is if you get to this point and you're drafting Jeremiah Love in the first round, and if you're still with us after we made that pick, that is coming on the heels of you having done a lot in free agency on the defensive side of the ball. I think it has to. I think that's the only way the Bengals are comfortable doing it. And so that's how I would make the argument for D'Angelo Pons here in the second round.
Yeah, it's close. It really is. And so, all right, we're down to 3. Who are we taking? I would still lean McNeil Warren, but if you want Pons, I'm not going to say no. He's a playmaker. I like playmakers. So
I think there's a big fallout from TJ Parker to the next guy, and it gives you another piece in the arsenal. Even if they have added an edge player, I think there's a big drop off here after TJ Parker for edge. So I'm going to go TJ Parker here.
You tricked me. I said Parker or McNeil Warren. He says he goes on this Pons rant. All right, let's go Parker. Let's see.
I was just trying to make an argument. It's tough without having seen
the free agency part,
right? Like
it's a huge
it's
part.
hard to say exactly.
I know who I want. I know who I want.
The situation is, yeah, we're taking Jacob
Grayson Halton. Hell no. I want
Halton?
Grayson Halton from Oklahoma. Let's go. That's who I want. You don't want him?
I don't have enough information yet on Grayson Halton. That's a defense that schematically I'm not sure exactly what the fit is. I want to find more just for myself. I need to see him more in one-on-one situations where he's not slanting or part of a stunt. I know that those are both things that Al Golden wants to do more. He talked about how they stunted less than he's ever stunted in his career on the defensive line last year when he was talking to you guys last week. So maybe Grayson Halton does fit into that plan. Jacob Rodriguez, though, really blew up the combine, man. And he has some good tape and tested much better than anyone thought he would. Now, does that mean you have to go back to the tape to make sure that athleticism shows up? Sure. But Grayson Halton also very interesting if you're looking for that pure penetrating 3-tech type player.
Yeah, he is. I agree with you, by the way. It isn't a jump at Grayson Halton, even though it stood out to me that he was there. To me, this is why you can do the Jeremiah Love at 10, because if you could get Jacob Rodriguez, and I don't think he'll necessarily be there at 72, but if he's there at 72, he could start for you right now. And he is that elite athlete that can come in and make an impact. And so, yeah, I would take Jacob Rodriguez. And I think if you look at it and you're like, all right, you can get TJ Parker and Jacob Rodriguez, and you get this freaky stud playmaker that is just going to crush light boxes and give you explosive plays and be good on short yardage like you've been, but also do all the things that you haven't been able to do ground game wise and take pressure off of Joe Burrow and potentially keep him healthier. Like all of the things that I would argue that Jeremiyah Love could potentially do. Well, this is a heck of a 3 round. So hit that Jacob Rodriguez, buddy. And we just nailed it.
You sure you don't want to go Grayson Halton after all that?
I'm sure it's like the D'Angelo Pons part of it. I was surprised Halton was there, but no, let's go Rodriguez and roll. Look at that. Oh, baby.
The other thing that was interesting to me there as we wrap up is Jadarian Price, the other Notre Dame running back, was available there in the 3rd round. So if you had gone instead with the linebacker in the 1st round and Jadarian Price in the 3rd round, which probably not. I think that's late for the guy that I think is consensus, the 2nd running back in the class in a bad running back class. Then if it's Sonny Styles in the 1st and Jadarian Price in the 3rd, it's probably fewer people yelling at us in the comments. Go ahead and yell at us in the comments. That's going to do it for this episode. I
love when you yell at me. I love it. Go ahead, Jake.
Until next time, thanks for listening to this episode of the Locked On Bengals podcast. Hooday, and have a good one.
Jake, do you feel that? Love is in the air.